everybody? Welcome to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I brought two very good friends with me today to discuss a host of topics, including the Five and Dime destruction over in Toontown, the Avengers E ticket, entertainment returning, just a ton of stuff. We're gonna dive right in. But first, let me introduce my two guests. Vash, welcome back, brother.
Hello there. Glad to be back, and I'm excited about today's topics. This should be fun.
Absolutely. And returning to the show, pleasure having you back. Rudio, what's up, man?
What's going on? The magic is back. Maybe?
Question mark, right?
Question mark.
Absolutely.
I always love doing these shows with Rudio.
Well, welcome back, fellas. So we're going to dive into this stuff. We have a lot to discuss. A lot has happened this week. So Toontown, after since it opened in '93, it's starting to show signs of life again.
I just thought about that. 93. Okay, yeah.
93, almost 20 years now.
It's nuts.
No.
30.
Almost 30 years. Oh, yeah. My goodness gracious. That's a lot. That's crazy. Yes. I always kind of think of Toontown as a new land. So it's like, oh my God, 30 years, you know?
It's crazy, man. I remember being like kind of a young kid and watching out here in California, we have KCal 9.
Yes.
KCal 9.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Remember all those?
Yes, it used to come on really early in the morning or on Saturday mornings, and they would show you the Mickey Mouse cartoons, and then they would show you what was happening in Toontown.
Yes,
yes, that was such a good show. Yes,
it was a great
cool.
show. It was a great show, and it just feels like. It doesn't feel like 30 years ago. No. It's wild. It's wild. But there is some news here. And I think, Vash, you were so kind to actually give us the video. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in real quick.
By the way, if you have small children, please have them leave the room. This is traumatizing.
The carnage. So the Gag Factory and the Five and Dime, which is basically the same store. It's just there's two facades basically to the same store. You can enter in the Five and Dime door, or you can enter in the Gag Factory door, but it's essentially the same thing. And as you can see here, Disney got, they're not wasting any time with this. They broad daylight. They are bulldozing this thing like you can't believe. Rudio, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this?
He's got the tissues.
What are your thoughts on this, man? Like this is pretty wild. They're just going full force with the destruction right in front of the guests, kiddos, anybody. It doesn't matter.
They didn't care. I mean, what's funny is like they had literally a whole pandemic quarantine to do this. And you can see that there was plenty of construction done within the quarantine time and the time that the parks were shut down. They built two Costco's behind Toontown, and they couldn't do this in the meantime. And the fact that they did this during park hours is more disturbing because we never really see construction like this. I mean, the most construction that I ever saw during the day was Galaxy's Edge, and even at that, it was behind closed doors, behind tons of walls that we didn't really have a clear eyesight to, and you would have to go to the parking structure to the very top level just to get a glimpse of. So the fact that I can see this just a few feet away from that wall, it's saddening.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And the nerd in me was like, hell yeah, bulldoze it. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah.
but I think it was both of you guys. You mentioned like, well, this is kind of a bad show because like, look, I'm an adult, whatever. You guys, we're all adults here, but like the kiddos though, you guys brought that to my attention where like the kids though in the area, like, what do they think? This is kind of traumatizing, and that's a very, very good point. Dre, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, in front of everybody, kids, families, just completely go like wrecking ball.
I know. I mean, I was honestly, I was shocked because, usually like you guys have been saying, you just don't ever see stuff like this. and I can only think of a handful of times this has even happened. I believe some of the Epcot stuff that's been recently going on has included some of this, which is not great for the entrance of your park. But there's so much demolition that has to be done in that park that I could kind of see it, kind of understand. But I mean, it is still a traumatizing experience, at least for Epcot fans. But they happen to be older, so it's like, okay, I can kind of see it. Horizons, a lot of people brought that up, that some of the photos that existed at demolition were in the day and so forth. But this is, we've never really seen anything like this in Disneyland. Obviously they're able to do it, I guess, to get the earth movers in there and start destroying it. But I mean, it's with how loud it is, the dust, the dirt, the debris, and especially this being a land for the kiddos. Yeah, this was I definitely wouldn't have done this, and I think Andy Castro set it up nicely. It's like show 2021, that kind of thing. So I mean, from what I understand, I believe Rudio, I think you shared me a tweet that suggested that, hey, I'm friends with somebody in the construction crew over there, and they were told like to hard stop, and the implication was that this tweet did go viral, and or these Instagram or TikTok videos did go viral, and they like shut it off. This is nothing hasn't happened before.
Well, that's actually a great segue. What I was going to ask you next, Ray, was like, what's going on here? Like, obviously they're doing damage control now and like saying, hey, pull back. But do you think this is like, Disney kind of internally loosening the show rules in terms of the construction? Obviously, this wouldn't be an announcement like the Disney dress code or what have you. But like, do you think that Disney has internally told construction sites, hey, look, construction workers, hey, this is fine now? Or do you think that this project is special in particular where they're saying, hey, we got to get this done. We got to get it open. Whatever you can do, get it done. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, what are your feelings here with that?
Now, I mean, I can see why you would, why you could go down that line of thinking, correct? Because Bob Chapek has talked about legacy, and it's like, well, the legacy issue, and he's he doesn't have much reverence for some of the things that us Disney fans might prioritize. And there have been differing standards in terms of show and so forth going forward here. In this particular case, I don't think it's any of those things. I think it was just like a miscommunication. Maybe they are a little bit behind schedule, and this was or out of it. Disney hires outside firms, outside teams to do this, and sometimes you say something, you do something, you set a timeline, doesn't get reviewed by Team Disney Anaheim or the higher ups, and this kind of stuff happens. Usually they're pretty spot on about this. Usually they have requirements and so forth, but I think because of limited cast and some miscommunication, this might have taken place. Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say there's probably a miscommunication that probably happened between the teams. And like how you said, this is a lot of third-party construction companies that come in and do these projects. So definitely I can see a miscommunication happening here.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see this because, like, obviously it looks like they're gonna completely bulldoze, at least from what we're looking at here. They're gonna completely level this building. It makes me wonder what's gonna also be included in this. I mean, how far are they gonna go with this? I mean, there's that little section that's a little further back. You can't really see it in this shot, but with like the dynamite factory and things like that, and that really puts. That's a kind of a big blockade for any kind of queuing that you would have for Mickey and Minnie, assuming the entrance is right here. Are they going to demolish that whole dynamite factory and kind of open that up? What do you think about that, Rudy? I mean, do you think that this is like the beginning of quite a few changes in this back little area, or is this going to be it? Just the store and that's it?
I've thought about that, considering that there is room that's going to be needed for an extended queue, because we know this ride is going to need an extended queue at some point, whether it be the grand opening or later down the line. And its main entrance doesn't seem that far from Roger Rabbit. And so maybe they make some sort of maybe hallway or make a backstage area so that way guests can kind of do a switchback back there, kind of like how they do for Millennium Falcon when they need to open up that extended queue. But I mean, the fact that there's not going to be more little gadgets and gizmos that are back there that kids can play with as far as the dynamite, because I remember going to Toontown and hitting those little dynamite sticks and seeing the smoke come out, or going to the mailboxes and hitting the buttons and hearing their voices come out. That's awesome, just based off the little things that you can do in Toontown, because there's not that much you can do besides the character meet and greets, the Go-Go Gadget Coaster, and Roger Rabbit. But the little things like that, that's what makes Toontown special.
Yeah.
And hopefully they bring something to these queue lines, or the queue line for the El Capitan. I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
When do you guys see this actually opening?
Go ahead, Dre. You start off. I'll follow up.
I think the timeline, I mean, it was originally going to open in 2022, I believe. And
2022, and then got pushed back to 2023,
yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
I think 2023, 2024.
Okay.
You know, probably Q1 for the fiscal year of Disney, it's October 1st. So either Q1 2023 or 2024, like in the spring summer. I can't really see it coming up shorter than that. I mean, maybe it does. I'm not sure. It does look like they're fast tracking this, which is interesting. You know, I don't want to sideline your point, Rudio, but I could talk about maybe why that might be the case, why it might be being expedited. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, I think they're going to meet their 2023. Estimates. I mean, I think that this is going to make it. It looks like they are, like you mentioned, Dre, they are fast tracking this. I can't see them. I can't see this being much longer than 2023. I mean, anything can happen. It's construction. Delays happen. Reality hits, and sometimes whatever. But I do think that's going to make that 2023 deadline. And I want to get into, Dre, actually, you touched upon why you feel this is being fast tracked. If you can kind of touch upon that'd be cool.
Yeah, so I think the reason why this is being fast tracked in this way is because if I'm not mistaken, the building actually serves multiple purposes for the Disneyland Resort itself. Some eagle-eye viewers have shown that there's windows on this huge show building, which is much larger than it should be. Much taller than it should be, and
it's 2 Costco's. It's huge.
This building is massive.
Yeah,
and because of that, it's like, okay, well, if it's supposed to have other purposes outside of just being a show building for this one attraction, then that would indicate why they might be fast tracking this in this way. But not only that, though, it's interesting is this is actually the spot of the new fireworks launch point or the launch points, the smaller launch points for the Disneyland Resort. It's interesting. Let me see if I can bring them over here.
All right. Oh, nice.
You can see on the top of the structure these various launch points that were previously, if you can believe them, they were previously scissor lifts that they used to have. And an extremely dangerous practice, by the way. They've actually gotten into some problems where a scissor lift actually falls over because of, low-lying winds or something like that. And, this is not how this is supposed to be done. But, they had to be raised, from what I'm assuming, because there's so many buildings in that area. It's very condensed, so it's to kind of lift them up, so to speak, so as to clear those. And just super dangerous. So the new configuration places them on the edge of this new structure here. And if you can see in the bottom, let's say left of that show building, you can see there's actually a lift to transport those pyrotechnics each night and transport them to their launch points. This also moves them back, so hopefully that means that Toontown can stay open past 7 p.m., which is going to be vital to this attraction going forward.
Yeah.
I actually want to touch upon that, and I actually want to touch upon that, and it kind of ties into what I was actually just going to say. This is perfect segue.
Oh yeah, I guess it is.
If they can do fireworks and keep Toontown open,
yeah,
that opens up a huge possibility, an enormous potential for. And again, I'm kind of spitballing here, and I'm kind of armchair imagineering in a way.
Sure,
but I'm sure the smart people at WDI have considered this because it's kind of obvious, but they have to make a new backdrop. They have to make a new backdrop for Toontown. The hills are gone. The cityscape will probably be gone. They need a new backdrop. It's going to be an enormously flat surface that's going to stretch the entire length of the land. If they can do fireworks while Toontown is open, potentially that new backdrop could be a canvas, so to speak, for any kind of projection elements they want to do for the show. And it can even be projection elements outside of the fireworks. I mean, imagine if you had the hills literally come alive the hills have faces on them. They were singing. They had the moon or the sun animated, birds flying around. How incredible would Toontown come alive with all that projection mapping going on in the background? I think would be absolutely insane. Rudio, what are your thoughts on that? If they can do that, man.
I think we're there. Yeah, I think we're there. Yeah, I think we're there, especially with Mickey's Mixed Magic and with the projection mapping that they've been doing on Small World for years. What you're saying makes complete sense because I've talked about it with a few friends that Toontown does close early due to the fireworks prior to COVID, and if Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway would have to close because of the operational issue with the fireworks, that means that you're basically cutting off its legs probably around 6 o'clock, and I don't think they want to do that for one of their big e-ticket attractions. So they have to make it work in a sense to have both the fireworks and Mickey's Runaway Railway to be both operational at the same time. So that makes complete sense of having some sort of big backdrop, because looking at it over the years, seeing the faded hills, and then you can see them from the freeway, it wasn't pretty. So hopefully they do change something or make that a little bit more elaborate for Toontown.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Dre?
I never really considered that a possibility, but I think it makes complete sense. If you're looking for a distinct, I mean, man, it's such a large canvas, and I don't think traditional lighting would even be applicable to just that large surface area, at least at night. So I think you would kind of have to do something like that. It's quite fascinating. I never really thought about it, but Disneyland Resort is always looking for kind of different places to have guests watch the fireworks from. Like, now it's like Fantasmic, it's down Main Street, not just the hub. So this would be quite interesting. Hopefully they don't drop the ball on this, because that is actually a really great idea to do that. I never thought about it. And you see Galaxy's Edge, and you're so close to those fireworks. I mean, you're like, you're only hundreds of feet away, and it's almost like they happen right over you, and yet they do nothing in that land. So hopefully they heard those criticisms and can respond thusly here.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so too. And I feel like Disney in general is sort of moving. I don't want to say they're moving completely away from pyro, but they're definitely transitioning in the sense that the projections are more the focus, and the pyro and the fireworks are more like the accents, so to speak. It's not. Yeah. If you look 20 years ago, I mean, they used to fire off a lot more shells than they do now. They're relying more and more and more on these projections. So yeah, this would be a great opportunity. I hope they follow through with it. Dre, I wanted to ask you, a few years ago when they were kind of like renovating or like, remodeling the castle, giving it like a nice new paint job and fixing the rooftops and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Kim Irvine. Imagineer Kim Irvine that was kind of saying that, like, the rooftops had a lot of damage over the years because of the overlays and what have you. So they kind of addressed that issue by rebuilding the rooftops with new material, stronger materials. Do you think Disney's going to be kind of forward thinking with that when it comes to whatever backdrop they decide for Mickey's Toontown, where they utilize some sort of new materials to prevent fading? Like, or do you think that they're just going to kind of go with what they have before and just keep repainting it every 6 months?
Well, if you look at the supports that are on the building right now, there's like these ties. I don't think we're going to get anything too crazy in terms of materials and so forth. I think it is just going to be paint, and I think it is going to be largely flat. I can't see them really doing anything substantial in the way of that, unfortunately, because I think there is there's like a maintenance road that they might want to preserve, at least on either end. It's just I can't, unfortunately, I don't see that. Now I will say the previous iteration, I think like at least like the built like the cityscape that you see on the downtown portion of Toontown. The kind of backdrop there, I think that's just like, it's like a tarp or something. Like it's like a wrap almost. And that faded pretty quickly and all that. And that's had some issues where it's gotten torn and stuff like that. So I think they will be adjusting that. I think it will be a very much, I mean, everything Disney does is like, let's not do this for 10, 20 years. Let's really think 30 years down the line kind of thing. And that's, reduce maintenance, all of that. That's kind of why this is interesting. Most buildings and facades, and especially with attractions like Splash Mountain, everything's made in concrete now. Almost, they or resin. They never use like wood or traditional materials because they are kind of like, hey, these they have to survive hurricanes. They have to survive, the immense heat in Anaheim. They have to be, power washed, and so they have been kind of this kind of preventionist, preservationist, or maintenance conscious kind of Imagineering in the last few years, especially. But I can see that kind of thing going down the line here.
What are your thoughts, Rudio? What do you think? You think they're going to kind of take a different approach with these, because it's a cost thing too. If they can find a material that will last longer, it saves them money as well. What are your feelings on that? Do you think they're gonna kind of use something different that will prevent fading? Or
I think Disney's, in better term, excuse my French, not going to half-ass it. I mean, they want to make sure this thing preserves throughout years, because they know, as much as we would like, some of us knew going in prior to everything happening, there was a big talk that Toontown was on its maybe dying days. And I think with this new ride, it's bringing new life to the land. And they're going to want to preserve as much as they can with this land. So I think they're going to go in guns blazing, going to do the best that they can to revitalize the life that was drawn out of it over 30 years due time. Because God knows, I think within the 20 plus years that I've had my pass, I think I've gone to Toontown maybe 10 times. Wow. Yeah. And that's just because Roger Rabbit's fun. I like it, but I ride it every 2 to 3 years just to see. And then if we were going with kids, they would like the Go-Go Gadget Coaster, and the Go-Go Gadget Coaster, not so friendly to adults.
It's not. It's not.
No.
That's true.
It's just, I had no really big intentions to ever go back there. So now with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it definitely does bring this bigger audience to the land, and I'd hope that they'd like to clean it up a little bit and just show that, you know what, we're invested into this land and it's going to be here for time to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like, and real quick, just to kind of close out on this topic, I would actually embrace some different styles of animation coming to Toontown. I always felt it was kind of weird how Toontown had like a uniform look when animation in general doesn't have a uniform look. Even within Disney, you have different styles. You know, you watch the new DuckTales from 2017. It's a very different style than, say, Tangled or Beauty and the Beast. Bring in that chaoticness, that chaos where it's like you have the Mickey Mouse shorts, you know, style of animation with the 90s style animation. Maybe even have a whole alleyway dedicated to black and white cartoons or something. Really create that weirdness with Toontown, because I think that there would be like a celebration, so to speak, of various styles. If Toontown really existed, it wouldn't just be this one style of animation. So bring a bunch of them, make it clash, make it look crazy. Why not? It's Toontown, you know?
Yeah.
Listen,
make it crazy. Yeah,
I'm just hoping for just you know, because I know budgets are kind of being slashed and stuff. And I'm just hoping for a repaint on Toontown. That's what I'm hoping for. Please, just give me a repaint and maybe
going
take
in
out
low. That is just
Exactly.
going low.
All right, I'll go a little bit higher. Take out the trolley tracks, maybe put in some trees. That's it. You know, it's time for Toontown.
Time to grow up.
Time to grow up.
I don't know. Do they? I haven't been there. Like I said, I don't go there that often. Do they still have the mini corn dogs? Because that's where I would go for the mini corn dogs.
Rudio, to be honest with you, I haven't eaten at Toontown in so long.
So long, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what their food court offers anymore, to be honest with you. I haven't. Yeah. It's been years since I've eaten there.
Yeah.
See, that's why it never made any sense to me to do like the 5 and Dime area. It's like the City Hall area seems like a way better option. So open. It's like right when you come out of that tunnel, it's right in front of you kind of thing. It can draw you in with the El Capitan signage and everything. It just seemed like a no-brainer to me. Unfortunately, I think the configuration of the ride didn't allow for that. But yeah, the food offerings, from what I understand, they're not even open. So
yeah, I don't think they're open at the moment as well. Yeah, I think there's just like a few like drink carts and ice cream carts, but I think that's about it.
You know, quick question, guys, and then we'll pivot to the Avengers ride because we have a lot to discuss with that too. But
of course,
because Anaheim doesn't have to like work around an existing structure, we're building this ride from scratch out here. Unlike Florida that had to work around the Great Movie Rides building. Is it possible? I know this is technically a clone, but Rudio, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's possible we get not a completely different attraction? I don't think that's in the cards. I think it'll be very similar. Is it possible, though, we get different show scenes, a slightly different approach to this ride because they are building it from scratch?
This has been brought up a few times amongst friends, and I think there's going to be a few, not so much a different attraction, but I think there's going to be a few tweaks in the attraction just because the show building's so huge. Right. But granted, Vash said this building's being used or utilized for other things, but I can imagine that they'd want to just tweak a few things here or there, but I don't see them going too far off from what the Disney World version is.
Yeah. What do you think, Vash? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I echo a lot of his sentiment, but it's a trackless ride system. I could see some more rooms. I mean, that could be possible. Unlikely, unfortunately, but I could see it.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll even swap rooms out. Maybe they'll replace one room that they found didn't work in Florida as that great. They'll swap it with something else, or you never know. But we'll see.
Because of how projection heavy it is, maybe holiday overlays.
Possible.
Toontown does have a holiday package.
And I don't know how many ride-throughs you've watched of the Florida version. Daisy Duck seems to be always, it's a hit or miss with her.
Yeah.
Like she's always not working, or she is working. So it's kind of weird how that scene works out.
Yeah,
I've not seen it. Avoiding spoilers, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
That would be Rudio, a perfect contender for Imagineering to go in there and be like, well, okay, maybe this doesn't work so well. Maybe we'll put something else in there. So we'll see. That's a great point. You're right about that one particular scene. So let's pivot now. Let's talk a little bit about. I'll remove this. Well, let's talk a little bit about Avengers, because there's been a lot of high drama this week in regards to the Avengers E tickets coming, or supposedly coming, or hypothetically coming to California Adventure, and more specifically their Avengers campus. I think it was WDWNT posted some pictures that, the concept art was plastered all over this new hotel in Paris, the Hotel New York, which is themed to Marvel. And it was only up there for like a day. Then Disney went in, they removed all that concept art for this e-ticket, and they replaced it with like more generic Avengers Campus artwork. Dre, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think the status right now in regards to the Avengers e-ticket? Where do we stand on this thing? I feel like we have no idea right now. There's so much going on.
So this is kind of interesting. I'm hearing conflicting reports. I'm hearing that it's been delayed. I mean, Jim Hill, if you listen to his show, he was saying that because of the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman, and this being so Wakanda heavy, that this might have delayed it a bit in that regard. That because the story was going to feature Wakanda in the way that it was, and without Chadwick Boseman's contribution, that might have shifted things around. And he was alluding to the fact that they might be waiting for Wakanda Forever, which should be released, I believe, in 2022. And seeing what the reaction is to what they do with that storyline going forward from that film, and maybe incorporating some of those ideas as a replacement to what they might have been type of Boseman heavy before. So that's kind of that's what I've heard. But I've also heard that he was saying it's like, well, 3 to 4 years for all new WDI projects, right? We've said that before on this show, actually. But he was alluding to the fact that maybe it's like 4 or 5 years, that out of all the projects that Walt Disney Imagineering has on its plate, and this is what I've said multiple times to you guys privately, out of all the projects that have bubbled up out of the halls of WDI in the last 5-10 years, this one is the most likely, and I still contend that it is the most likely. However, we have been hearing to the contrary, right? I mean, I believe Orange Grove, you shared some tweets from Daps and some other people and otherwise saying things might have changed substantially. We might be waiting a long, long time. I mean, I know we are, but it's just, oh God, I still contend this will happen. But will it happen in this way, or what was envisioned, or what was shown, or what was rumored? Man, I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rudio? What are your thoughts on the status of this Avengers e-ticket?
What's funny is it goes back kind of to the Galaxy's Edge opening, when Millennium Falcon opened, and people were like, okay, that's one cool ride. And then there was people like me who were telling everyone, like, just wait, the e-ticket, it's sitting back there. It just needs a few tweaks here or there, but it's coming. Give it 6 more months. And I think it eventually ended up being 8 months, but still, it was just like we had that in the back of our heads that this e-ticket is coming, and this land is going to be a whole different, it's going to be more immersive than what you think it is right now. And right now, with Avengers Campus still in its opening month, you're getting a lot of that feedback from guests going on Spider-Man saying, oh, that was a cool ride. Spider-Man was, from everybody's reaction from opening day, from just asking us, they were like, that was like Toy Story Mania. And it felt cool just to use the hands-free version. And I like the shows, but what's that building? Like, what's in there? Why are they just doing shows in there? And it's a big space. Right. And you would hope that, like, maybe sometime down the line, they put a little Easter egg saying something's in there, something's coming. But with uncertainty, it hurts, because I love the concept art. And there's a few videos out on YouTube that just are armchair Imagineering, just trying to see what this ride could potentially be. And that just hurts my heart more, because I want to see this come to life. I definitely want to see it come to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I echo the sentiments, Dre, that, like, I think it's coming. I really do, because the MCU is an ATM machine for Disney. It's just too big. It's money on the table. And really, what else are you going to bring to DCA that's going to bring in more money than the Avengers? I mean, there's nothing you can really do besides that. I mean, you already have the attraction. It's already gone through R&D, I imagine, the research and development. Why not? I'm sure it just makes sense. And then you have Kevin Feige, who's involved, who I'm sure is pushing for it as well. He's a nerd like all of us. He wants to get this thing done. I can't imagine. And here's the other thing. A lot of fans just kind of want to fall back on, oh, well, Chapek is just cheap. Well, I mean, that's the easy kind of like the low-hanging fruit response. But I mean, the guy did announce this attraction at D23. I mean, he obviously had every intention of building it. He announced it to all these fans who he knew would latch on to every word he said. I feel like he's not adverse to building this thing. There's something going on. Maybe like what you said, Dre, with Jim Hill. Maybe like it is the Wakanda factor with the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman. Maybe it's that. I don't know. What were you gonna say, Dre? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's even worse than the Rise of Resistance thing, because Rise, at least, I mean, it was supposed to open with the land, obviously, and there was just a couple of issues holding it back, but it was all kind of there. In this way, it's just there's nothing there. There's there's not even ground clearing, and it's like, oh my god, like, is this thing ever gonna really come? And I know we've had George on the show, and he's just like, I can't take not getting this right. I can't take another one of these. They kind of hype it up, but it's not there anymore. So, I've God, it's like when I heard the concept, it's like you're gonna be in the Quinjet, and that's why the Quinjet's up there. So it's probably going to be a Quinjet based attraction based on that. But is it going to be like Star Tours? Or is it going to be or is it going to be the version where you have a 4-point harness kind of thing? You're sitting in an attraction or ride vehicle that you think and then you just go out of it and have this kind of individualized experience that transports you right down the ground, right next to the Avengers fighting it out. Like, it sounds so unbelievably incredible. It's such a great concept, such a great idea. Everybody who's anybody wants to do that, if you're a fan of the franchise. So it's like, it's too good not to do. I mean, what if you could incorporate some of the, like, the web slinger, kind of maybe a version 2 of those things, but yeah, a wider arrangement of those, and you could take those on the ride and fight with the Avengers, alongside the Avengers that way. Like, it's just so great. It's just so perfect too for DCA, who desperately needs another big attraction, to take off some of the pressure from Murder Springs racers. I've heard I've heard people, to your point, Rudio, who's kind of looking at that going like, what is in there? What is over there? I've heard it's compared to like the Haunted Mansion, which took, I believe it was 6 years between the time that the facade went up in 1963 with the opening of New Orleans Square to the time that the mansion did open up in 1969 at Disneyland. And, it's like, yeah, that's great, but, it's like, is this,
what are you going to do?
As long as it's going to come, I don't care how long I have to wait. Right. I just don't know, and this taking off the art, like, that's not a great sign.
No, it's not a great sign. I was actually really, really encouraged when the art went up. I was like, okay, cool. They're willing to show it to the world and kind of promote it. They're kind of winking at us saying, hey, it's coming, but hey, hold tight. The fact that they took the art down, what that says to me was that they noticed the online attention it was getting. And they're just not ready for it yet. They're not ready to make that commitment for this attraction yet, or whatever, or maybe that version. They're not ready to commit to that version of the attraction yet. So they had to pull it back. It's sad, but I still hold true. I still believe it's going to happen. I really, really do. I think it's too much money on the table. If this was a non-IP thing, something completely unrelated to an IP, and especially a huge franchise like Marvel, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be, nixed. But I mean, it's Marvel. I mean, this is your biggest franchise, right? I mean, it's got to happen.
It's not Tron.
Right, exactly.
As much as I love Tron, it's not Tron.
Yeah. And, if you're going to do a Tron attraction, let's go. It's like, but man, so many things are different pre 2020 than post 2020, you know, and you know there are some realities that kind of set in. Although, I mean, look, for various reasons, I still think this is going to happen. Is
Yeah.
it going to be the you know the all out version that we were kind of? I mean, I'm praying. I am praying too, Rudy. I mean, let's go here. But
The Avengers gods.
yeah, exactly. To Thor and Odin's son. No. But that's just it. It's like, oh my God, you know, this is a significant investment. Maybe they don't have all the R&D in place. Maybe it did take, you know, there's a reason why they didn't clear the ground this entire time. I mean, maybe they are kind of developing it and kind of getting their, you know, the finalization of it. Maybe that takes money. It's just, man, I really do hope so. I'm really hoping. DCA needs it. DCA needs it. They need a big attraction. The MCU is the hottest property out there. It has all the momentum. Let's see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I would even have, you know, kind of going back to our last segment with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I would have even preferred that ride to go into Hollywood Land. You know, Disneyland is so stacked when it comes to rides and e-tickets. More than any other park. I mean, even the Florida parks don't compete to Disneyland. You know, I mean, it's just like DCA, give it a little bit of love. You know, I mean, it sits in the shadow of this incredible legendary park. Give it those e-tickets to at least somewhat compete, you know, and they're so hesitant about it. I don't get it. And here's the thing with DCA that actually is guaranteed moneymaker for Disney. No one's going to go to the Disneyland Resort and just go to DCA. If you're going on vacation, if you're going to Disney California Adventure, you're going to Disneyland, right? But not necessarily the opposite, though. Like if you're coming from Japan, Germany, Europe, Australia, there's a possibility that you might come here and just go to Disneyland. But it's never the opposite. No one's going to come here from all that way and just go to DCA. So if you can lock in your DCA visit from the tourists, you're guaranteed a Disneyland visit. They're going to go to Disneyland. So lock in those DCA visits and you'll guarantee that Disneyland visit. But it doesn't work in reverse, though, because DCA is more expendable in the eyes of the tourists.
No, it's a great point. And I mean, it's like a mandated $60 upcharge for that park hopper, you know, or you know, multiple days. Because it's like I'm telling you, folks, this was going to be like the marquee. You had to do this. Okay. you couldn't skip it. You couldn't go web slingers and go, well, you know, maybe I'll hit it some other time. No, you were gonna book this thing. Trust me, it was gonna be Radiator Springs Racers on, you know, steroids in terms of this monumental shift of guests from Disneyland to DCA, and that's a great point. I mean, it's a mandated $60 upcharge for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, let's pray to what Odin.
Odin's
not Thanos. Don't pray to Thanos.
Don't bring in Thanos. We'll pray to Odin, and we'll see. Hopefully it happens. I'm with you guys. I think it eventually will happen. I just think there's going to be a little drama. And from what I understand, it was supposed to be built also in Hong Kong, and that's also been put on hold. So it might just be like what Jim Hill was saying, just the Wakanda factor. And this Chadwick Boseman, you know, and all that. And, you know, they're just kind of waiting on that. So it could be something that simple, you know. Obviously, Chapek was down to spend the money when he was park president. So I don't know what would have changed. So we'll see, you know.
What have you guys seen as far as the ride system? Like, have you guys seen, like, any speculation videos on, like, what that ride system is supposed to be like? Because I've seen one, and it seems a little bit far-fetched. But it seems like a cool concept. I just want to know what you guys have seen.
I've heard it would be not too much detail, but it would be similar to that of the Flight of Passage, okay. You know, in Pandora, similar to something like that. You know, okay. I don't know though. I mean, who knows how accurate that would be? Have you heard anything, Dre?
Yeah, so this was kind of interesting because the way they were going to pull it off. Here's the trick. So you go into kind of a Quinjet, and it's very much akin to Star Tours, right? And they take advantage of the fact okay, guests have kind of figured us out. They kind of know what the experience is going to be like before they actually do it, just based on the ride vehicle, just based on the, kind of system that you're stepping into. But this is going to be a little bit different because instead of just a seatbelt, you're going to have a kind of a 4-point harness kind of thing. That was going to be okay, but it was going to be consistent with the with the Quinjets themselves in the films. So it's okay. Well, it's kind of part of the theme, but didn't expect that. And as you visit Wakanda, it's like, okay, we're going to go on a scenic tour, and you go on that scenic tour, and you're looking at it, it's like, okay, kind of looking from afar, just like Star Tours. But then, it's like, ooh, it's under attack. We got to, the Avengers are coming, but we got to go down there now to assist them. And before you know it, kind of like paratroop down. And that's why you got that concept art with the jetpacks, and you're fighting in and amongst them. So that tells me a Kuka arm, similar type technology, because that's really the only one that I can envision that has that free range of motion, and it's going to be like on a per seat basis. Yeah. So you're going to just detract, and you go in and. It's incredible.
So you could be literally sitting next to your wife, your husband, whatever, and this Kuka arm thing kicks in, and you guys split up and you go on your own way. That is freaking insane. Go ahead,
Rudio. Mind blowing.
I've seen very much the same thing that Vash has seen. But one is that you would go in the Quinjet, and the seats would maneuver themselves. So basically, you would go in face forward, and then once the mission starts, your seat reverses. Yes. And then you would go into like a room that's very much like Soaring Over California, and your seats would top on each other like Soaring Over California.
Oh, okay.
So
that's an interesting way to go about
that
it.
That would be same concept, Vash, that you have, except that your seats reverse. You come out of the Quinjet and you would top on each other.
Right, and so the range of motion. Maybe not as free as a Kuka arm, but still kind of separated, still kind of individualized. Yes. Wow, that's cool. A clever idea. That's a clever idea. Okay, all right. But
I like your idea too. I want to see both of these executed.
I'm telling you right now, folks, this sounds freaking awesome. Like it sounds so cool.
Sounds dope.
And just to put a finer point on this is kind of the kind of new thing in the industry. I've seen this from Universal actually, where it's like, okay, how can we kind of play into this idea where people expect a certain experience from a certain type of ride vehicle that they step into, and yet it transforms later on. I know Universal filed a patent for like almost like a Jeep attraction, like a dark ride attraction, but you would have a kind of flyer attraction over you that would hook onto your ride vehicle and take off, and now it would be like an ET or a Peter Pan type attraction later on.
Wow.
And, that kind of stuff, we're going to see a lot more of that going forward. Not too dissimilar from the Rise, Turducken, kind of thing. So that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Looking forward to it, and like we said, we're all hoping that this thing gets made. Chapek, open up the piggy bank, buddy.
Let's do it.
This thing.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's pivot now to our next topic, which is going to be entertainment. Entertainment is returning to Disney parks July 4th, actually. So in terms of like fireworks shows and what have you. Rudio, what are your thoughts on entertainment coming back? Are you a big entertainment guy? I mean, do you love the fireworks? Do you not like them? What are your thoughts on this, man?
I'm a big entertainment guy in a sense that I like it knowing that, like, hey, I can go see the Disneyland band once I see Main Street. Once I walk into Main Street, I can go see certain shows. Like, for instance, I can go to the Golden Horseshoe. Hopefully the Golden Horseshoe comes back in some way later down the line, but that's another day and another topic. And then knowing that at the end of the day, I have Fantasmic waiting for me. Yes. Like, just seeing Fantasmic, knowing that Fantasmic could potentially come back. Oh God. But I like Mickey's Mixed Magic. I've seen it a handful of times, but I didn't really like wait for it. I just kind of like exiting the park and be like, oh, that's happening. But Mickey's Mixed Magic, I don't know to you guys, it is very loud for for that show.
Let me see if I can
yeah.
here.
But in a sense, I love the entertainment.
It's loud.
Oh, super loud. And then he goes into some trance where there's like Frozen and Let It Go's like in an EDM form, and I'm like,
I know,
what is happening?
Yeah, it's like a giant rave, you know.
Yeah,
it's
at some point
wild.
I'm like, what is going on here?
That's okay for like 2 minutes, and then it's like, oh my god, we still have like 11 on the clock. Gee, it's like, oh my god, it's gonna take forever.
Come on.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I'm with you, Rudio. I'm really happy to see fireworks returning. I think I talked to you, Vash, about this not too long ago on your show, actually, Freshly Squeezed, where we talked about entertainment, where like I'm okay, even if I'm not like actively sitting and watching the fireworks, just walking around the park and seeing them go off.
Yeah. Walking
through like New Orleans Square and hearing Fantasmic go off while I'm even just shopping or eating. It just adds a level of ambiance, of atmosphere to the park. It comes alive, you know? It's just such a vital part of the experience. It just, and same with DCA, you know, you're walking through the pier or whatever, and you see World of Color just going bonkers with the fountains and the music and the lights. It just adds something to it. But
there you go. Yeah.
You know?
It does add something to it. I don't know if it's the right thing, but it does add something to it.
It adds to it.
It does. Yeah, exactly. Right?
Like,
it's a great song.
And there's you're very much into it when it's happening, and I'm like,
oh,
you, but I'm out. I gotta hit to the tram.
Yeah, man. Yeah, people go nuts for that. It's pretty wild. Dre, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're feeling this. I mean, this is a kind of a big step to normalcy.
This is huge. And look, Dave from Fresh Baked, I got to give it up to him. He's actually done some nice research on this. He was able to tap into the data of somebody whose kind of hobby it is to track wait times and so forth. And the trend line was very clear that the parks were being front loaded because there was no entertainment to keep them at night. So people would try to get the most out of their day, go very, very early in the morning, 80% of which I think were going starting at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. when the parks actually opened, and then fizzle out. Man, I mean, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing because of how much you can actually get done in this during this period, you know, without Fast Pass and so forth. So, and you would peak at like maybe 11 or 12, and that's for big attractions all over the park. Very, very interesting trend lines. So what we're seeing is we're seeing, because the entertainment's not there,
right,
people are leaving because it's like, look, it's Anaheim. I can be out and be at to dinner somewhere else, or to get food or anything somewhere else very, very quickly. I'm not locked in like I am at Walt Disney World. So how do you keep them from doing that? How do you keep them locked in? I mean, this was really kind of part of the Disney California Adventure question, because during the first 10 years of that park's life, without a World of Color to keep them there, people were leaving so early, and it's like, no, we have to drive them back into the park. We have to keep them here. We have to keep these restaurants filled, and you do that by way of an entertainment program. And it's clear that's what Disneyland needs desperately right now. Because people just don't stick around. They just leave. And that's so many hours of the revenue you could be generating. It's kind of interesting because there's always kind of these park operations people who kind of think they know better, think they can get rid of entertainment, think they can get rid of this stuff. And then you realize, oh no, this is important, and here's why. And I think that's, they're going over that the hard way at this time.
Oh yeah. And it's huge for the bottom line, because you drive like those dining packages and things like that, like those World of Color dining packages where you would pay. I remember I did it a few times at Ariel's Grotto. You pay for the package, you get your seating for World of Color. There's big money in that. And they're foolish to think they can just kind of skip over that. People are willing to pay for that, and we'll see. But overall, really happy it's coming back. I would prefer, like you fellas, if Mickey's Mixed Magic wasn't the thing we were getting.
I know.
I would rather them just do Disneyland Forever, or even like Remember Dreams Come True, go old school, or even Fantasy in the Sky or something. I just want a more traditional fireworks show to kind of kick this off. But whatever, we're stuck with Mickey's Mixed Magic probably for a little while.
The thought process behind Mickey's Mixed Magic was that it was supposed to be something that, like we said before, didn't lean so heavily on the pyrotechnics, that it was like a projection show where you could play it. I mean, even in the event of inclement weather, you could still go forward with it. So I think that's kind of, the mentality behind Mickey's Mixed Magic. And from that standpoint, I can kind of get behind that.
I get it.
Operationally, it's great. It's just, man, it's just not, it's just not that magic. It's just not that nostalgia. It's not that classic kind of feeling, that those kind of emotional swells and upbeats. It doesn't have any of that. And, I just wish, if you're going to go that route, fine, but design a new show for it that embraces it in that way, like a Happily Ever After or something like that.
Right.
At Walt Disney World or something. Just something else. I get it if you want to go down this route, but just something else, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it was cute for the 90th Mickey birthday thing, but I think it's kind of run its course. But I do think it's not long on this earth. I do believe this is a holdover until they get something else in there.
Yeah, I think so. Probably,
so. But yeah, let's pivot to our last and final topic. This is an interesting one, fellas. So actually, you know what? I think Vash, you have video, right? I mean, go ahead.
I do. That. Yeah. Let me pull it up. Got it right here.
All right.
You probably won't be able to hear. Oh, go.
Oh, let me set the table a little bit with this. Now, I'm not familiar with Florida. This is in Epcot, but what attraction is this specifically?
This is the land, Living with the Land at the Land Pavilion in Epcot.
Okay. So I want to make a little disclaimer, though, before we play this. Please do not do this. This will get you banned from the parks. Please do not do this. This person did not have the greatest judgment in the world. And, but go again, I just want to emphasize that. Do not do this at any of the Disney parks. Go ahead and play it, and then we're going to talk about it.
Oh my God.
Wow. So apparently from what's going on here is that this attraction, it's like a boat ride like Pirates, but you go through and there's like actual fruit, vegetables and fruit, I guess, growing here. And she decided that she's going to jump out of her boat and grab a cucumber and thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
And cucumbers. Who does cucumbers around here? Because I like cucumbers. I'm the only one. I like cucumbers.
Well, no, you're not the only one.
She apparently likes it. But this was a bad idea on her part.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with this. I don't know if she ended up getting reprimanded by Disney or banned. But Rudio, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, this is crazy, man.
The fact that she went out of her way, and obviously this girl was under the influence of some kind. It is Epcot, so maybe she was drinking earlier that day. Maybe she was brought in some substances of her own. But God, I mean, look, she's trying to get on the boat, and she's ruining other people's experiences as she's doing this. She's climbing over guests, and they tell you, I've heard people who've been on this ride who, when they point at something on the ride, they say, please keep your hands inside the boat. So it's just like, it took a while for them to even have a reaction to this. Usually the boats stopped on prompt once they see somebody's off the boat. And we all know that Disney's eagle eye, they can see everything of what's happening on these attractions.
Right.
But the fact that the boat keeps going and they don't stop the vehicle, and oh my God, just watching it over and over again. And she could have she could have seriously injured herself right there at that moment, getting her leg caught in between the boat and that side part. This could have went so many ways, but God, No,
it's really bad. And because this is a slow moving boat ride and how its conveyance actually is accomplished, you can't stop something like this on a dime. And these are folks, these are massive ride vehicles. Okay, these. I mean, we're talking about tons of force, tons of energy being applied, every single minute, and that doesn't really, that doesn't really make good bedfellows with your softy flesh kind of thing. Okay, this has gone tragically wrong before. Just even, in this way, they fully get in and out kind of thing. But as you said, Rudy, I mean, she does get her kind of foot, caught up there, and that could have ended tragically. Even, for example, like there was an incident on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad where a young boy actually, hands, arms, feet, and legs. That's where this comes from. People ask, "Oh, feet and legs," what? But no, I mean, a young boy tried to step out of the vehicle before it had actually gone completely in the station, and that didn't go very well, as one could imagine. And that's why if you see Big Thunder, they have those little kind of raised edges,
steps. Yeah,
those kind of steps that you go. It's because of that incident. And this really speaks to the history of ride vehicle safety. There was a charge, I would say, in kind of the early 2000s to reevaluate vehicle safety and see whether or not these things could be safer going forward. Not just because of that incident, but a couple of other famous ones. And, I mean, there were all kinds of ideas thrown out. For example, like Big Thunder, what if you could have like an Expedition Everest type system with that, where each passenger has an individual lap bar kind of configuration instead of the one lap bar that we have right now. I even heard stuff like over-the-shoulder restraints on Splash Mountain. I mean, that's how crazy this was getting here. And unfortunately, there were some forces that pushed back, due to operational wise or so forth. But we're seeing this kind of in the industry, especially with Universal. And I think, Rudy, you can speak on that.
Yeah, he's speaking of just sometimes these theme parks that go just a little bit over the edge. Speaking of the new Secret Life of Pets ride, I got to ride it when it soft opened in April. And going on the ride and seeing what it was, the best way I can describe it, it's like Monsters, Inc. The vehicles are going about that fast, and the vehicles themselves are as big as probably say
like a Fantasyland dark ride, maybe.
Yeah, I would say smaller than that. Wow. Yeah, so they do have a vehicle outside the ride where you can actually test to make sure you fit into the vehicle. So I was trying everything I could. I did it, and I got the green light. But if you are a grown adult over the age of 25, it's a struggle, especially if you are tall. If you're over, I would say 5'8", it's a struggle to get on that ride.
5'8".
Wow.
Yeah.
that doesn't. I mean, look, and this is the issue too. Is I think that Universal, you want to make sure it's a safe environment for every single guest, but you also want to make sure that people can get on the ride,
Yeah.
And it's like there has to be that balance where you keep people safe, but you can have as many people as possible get on it. And from what you're saying, it sounds like, I mean, yeah, over 5'8", and I mean, it's like, come on, I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. They need to reevaluate that, I think.
Oh yeah, and I'm thinking that they're doing that. I think there's a lot of guest complaints that are coming in. Also, that I've heard based on that ride vehicle, it's coming from Japan. So, granted that the Japan, the average size of a human over there isn't as big as what we Americans are.
So, yeah. I mean, that's just, I mean, maybe not this, but maybe like this,
No,
we're
a little bit fluffier. Yeah.
Correct. So Yoshi, like, for example, it's like, from what I understand, it's the same kind of housing for that. And it's, I mean, if you know Yoshi, it's kind of a smaller attraction. These are kind of like pseudo like Omnimovers, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay, so imagine like this whole hassle but for a haunted mansion. And that's kind of where we're at here. Now, I know Haunted Mansion's case specifically, there are pressure mats to detect whether, when somebody steps out of the right vehicle, like total e-stop, lights come on, all that kind of stuff. Maybe Universal didn't want to go that direction, and the lawyers were simply like, "Hey, look, this is going to have audio animatronic characters and so forth. We don't want to risk kids getting out." This speaks to how difficult it is to actually design a ride vehicle that's good for somebody who's, I don't know, like 80 pounds and yay high versus somebody who's, maybe 300 plus pounds and yay tall kind of thing. It's very difficult to do that from an engineering standpoint. So I kind of get that, but this is just way too far. This is just completely crazy. And it's interesting because you have something like the new Velocicoaster, for example, which is all about kind of, being free.
No harness.
Yeah, no harness. It's literally just a lap bar, and the whole idea with that attraction is, to maximize the what is it? They call it airtime that attraction gives you. And so it's wild. I mean, people have said on Velocicoaster, it's like, oh my God, it's like I'm gonna fall out,
Yeah.
But
I've heard people on the ride-throughs go, I'm flying off the ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's a great design by Intamin, but it's just like, man, it's like this. It's just completely bizarre, and it's way over the top.
Well, and another thing I was going to say, just for Secret Life of Pets, it only fits it only rides 2 per vehicle. For being a family ride, I would have thought they would have maybe accommodated to 4. But say you're a family of 3, maybe you're a mom and you're bringing your 2 kids. Does that mean the 2 kids ride by themselves? Like,
right.
What do you do in that instance?
It seems like they went overboard on this in terms of their reaction to people getting out. And I can't imagine, and I'm not a theme park operator, and if you're a cast member, a team member for Universal, whatever, please chime in the comments. But what we saw with the Epcot thing and various other instances, they seem like far and few between. I mean, it happens, but I can't imagine these things being regular occurrences to the point where you have to do this complete, like, drastic design of the Secret Life of Pets vehicles. How often do people get out of the Fantasyland Dark Rides at Disneyland? I mean, I can't imagine it being that often.
Not that often, yeah.
I mean, why would they go this route of being so extreme for something that doesn't seem that common in the first place,
Yeah, that's really the big question. I mean, it's like, what mandated this decision? And Secret Life of Pets has a lot of kind of weird, the spacing between vehicles is very wide. It's like wider than it should be.
It is. Yeah, it is. And that's just because there's some personal experiences that you have later down in the on the ride. There's, for instance, an interactive part where they transform you into a puppy onto a few LED screens, and then you're going through a bath like a puppy. So there's a few effects that just they want to pull off exclusively to that one vehicle.
Right. Could we get 4 though?
Yeah.
Could we get a 4-seater? Like, it just seems to me that it's not as efficient as it possibly could be in terms of hourly capacity. But that's just kind of my thoughts. It's interesting. This is what kind of worries me about the West Coast version of the Splash Mountain redo that we're, from what I understand, getting here relatively shortly. It's like, in order to prevent the over-the-shoulder restraints from being on the logs themselves, because unlike Walt Disney World, they couldn't add a lap bar configuration. That's where that comes from. They were really concerned about what happened with Living with the Land, as we saw, but happening at the crest of the Chicken Hill kind of thing. And that would have been obviously devastating. It wouldn't have been like this. But as a compromise, they now position a cast member at the base, hidden in the dark, and you can't see them.
I wave to them every time I see them.
Exactly.
They usually I see them reading a book sometimes, so it's like they got a lot of time to go.
That's questionable. They're really supposed to keep an eye. Okay. Well, I can't speak to the operations of every single cast member. But they're right there.
They probably got reprimanded for doing that, but yeah.
Probably. The idea is that they're supposed to be having their hand on the switch at all times. And if they if they ever see anything like that, boom, right there, hit it, and now you're good to go, at least from their standpoint. But I kind of worry about that. It's like, are we gonna, is that going to change? Now that you're essentially redoing an entire attraction, can some of those practices be grandfathered in or not? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see.
It will. I have a question for you guys, and this is total anecdotal, and I could be completely wrong. And if I am, please correct me. And I'm not throwing any shade at any people in Florida. I have a lot of friends, close friends actually, that are in Florida. We love Florida. But I do see, at least from what I see on the news and in the media and what have you, a lot more of these instances happening over there. I not to say we never have them here. We do. But it feels like far and fewer between. Rudio, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, because Epcot seems to have one of these things like almost yearly, with people trying to climb the Mexican Pavilion temple, I believe it is.
Yeah, and that was really bad because there was a fireworks launch point up there, so it's like really that's like yeah. So when that happened, that was like all hands on deck right there. We got an emergency, go, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But it does seem to happen more often with our friends in Florida. I don't know. I mean, is it a Florida thing? Is it maybe a drinking thing? Because Epcot pushes the alcohol so much, but DCA pushes it too. So I don't know.
I mean, I read CNN, I read Fox News, I read all the media outlets, and the one consistent thing that happens daily is you hear Florida man. The legend of the Florida man is a constant thing that happens. So to say that it's a Florida thing, granted, everything that happens in Florida, possibly, but like how you're saying, the liquor can definitely influence such moves. I will say probably about 16 years ago, when it was Ariel's Grotto, there was a dad who had a few too many drinks at the bar, and he propelled himself into the little bay area that was right there. So it took a while for him to get out of there. They had called Anaheim Police Department, swung some things at him, like a rope to get him out. The wife and the kids are there. They're crying, trying to influence them to get him out of, and it was a whole thing. So granted, like how you said, things like that happen here. So let's just not say Florida it's an isolated incident. It happens everywhere. But
yeah,
it just happens in Florida more often.
Yeah. I think it happens in Florida more often because their parks are so much bigger. They see such a wide range of audience, not just from the Southern California market, but all over the East Coast.
That's true.
Whereas Disneyland Resort might have, when it's really packed, maybe 100,000 people on property, you could have, 2, maybe even 3 times that, at Walt Disney World, look at Universal, they've got 2 parks and they're huge, that kind of thing. So I think that's why a lot of those things kind of happen, unfortunately. But, humans can be unpredictable sometimes. You just never know. You try to, have all these contingencies. You try to prepare for every single moment, but you just can't help that drunk guy that wants to climb the Mexican Pavilion. So what are you going to
do? Man, it's wild. It's wild. We definitely have our instances out here. We recently had, what was it, like 2 years ago, I think now, the Toontown incident. That was
2 summers ago,
yeah. So that was pretty crazy. And we've had our share too.
Well, the most high profile incident, just to end on this anecdote, this story, somebody, he had to have been a previous cast member because he knew his way around. But he hopped out of the ride vehicle on Pirates of the Caribbean, specifically with the jail scene. Hopped out of the vehicle, snagged the keys, and then if you know that area, there's a doorway, there's like a passageway right behind that scene. Well, if you follow that, I don't even know if I should be sharing this, but if you follow that correctly, you can find yourself, where the New Orleans Square restrooms are, where the if you go in the kind of men's restroom, there's like this kind of like double door kind of situation. You could find yourself right out there and out, and nobody's gonna find you. This guy knew it. This guy did it. Grabbed the keys and went. And unfortunately, the animatronic dog was what should I say? He was damaged in that process. But but you know, he just never.
How long ago was this?
Oh, geez. This would have been probably 10 years ago. Okay. I want to say 10 years ago. Yeah. But I mean, it's just, and he got away scot-free. I mean, they just couldn't catch up with him. They couldn't, identify him with the cameras that they had and so forth. But he just, sometimes it happens. I don't know.
It's unfortunate. And I do want to emphasize, do not ever attempt any of this stuff. You will get banned. There have been people recently that have been banned for doing horrible stuff like this. Oh, yeah. Like recently.
Oh, yeah. And, banned for life. Banned for life. You cannot come back.
Exactly. Banned for life. So if you love going to Disney or even Universal, or any of the parks, be on your best behavior, respect the parks. They don't have to let you on property. These are private property. If they don't want you on, there's no obligation to have you on property.
You are a guest.
Exactly.
You are a guest. Okay, so remember, that's two ways.
Do you think this amplifies these social media influencers or these people who go on TikTok or on Instagram to create these type of videos? Do you think this amplifies actions like this?
Oh, definitely. I think that this whole this whole hunger or thirst, so to speak, for like views and clicks and subscribers and stuff, followers, definitely fuels this kind of behavior. Absolutely. And it's unfortunate. You don't need to do that. Just make good content the right way. You don't need to do that. It's terrible. What do you think, Dre? You think that whole culture kind of fuels it as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Disney's kind of looked at this and has what they're really most afraid of is this becoming a trend that, TikTokers or Instagrammers or whatever get into, and they kind of fuel the other, so to speak. Right. And that could get really bad. So they've always taken a very much a no-nonsense policy with this because they have to. Right. They cannot, allow this to continue. You can't just do this, get millions of views, and then be given a warning. It just can't work like that. Yeah. So yeah, they have to take a no-nonsense policy. I remember, our fellow YouTuber Adam the Woo, one of the most high-profile bannings I've ever seen. I mean, he was banned for life at one point from Walt Disney World, and didn't go back there for many, many years. And he had the way he overcame it was he had to get a lawyer to kind of start that negotiation process and so forth. And now he's back on. But I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now,
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Absolutely not. And in one case that's happened recently, I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Involved a little of that.
Little H2O.
Yeah, a little H2O, right? This gentleman, he thought, as long as I, don't get in the park, I'm probably fine or whatever. No. They found him on Walt Disney World property. They found him at the Grand Flow. They approached him at his vehicle when he returned, and he was banned, banned for life. So I'm just saying, don't do this. Don't do this, guys. You're a guest.
Yeah, exactly. You're a guest. It's private property. They can turn you away, ban you if they feel like you're just just there to cause trouble. So just respect the rules. When you get there, respect the rules. If you want to make content, but do it the right way. Do it the right way.
Time to grow up.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, Newsom, he's right. He's right. He's right.
But it begs the damn question: what the hell's going on?
What the hell is going on?
Exactly.
Oh man,
it's wild. It's wild. But yes, just follow the rules, gentlemen. Thank you both for coming on again. It's been a pleasure. So I'm going to start off with we'll go Rudio first, and then we'll go up to Vash. Rudio, where can everyone at home find you on social media, sir?
You can find me on Instagram and on TikTok at Rudio, just like how it says right there. pleasure to be here once again with you guys. Can't wait to talk some more Disney with you in the next coming weeks.
Absolutely. And Rudio, like we talked about this off air, but like hopefully I can get you on again for like the Orange Nerd Show. We'll talk some Marvel, MCU, Star Wars, all that good stuff. Because I think that that would be a lot of fun to have you on that show for sure.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And VashSky, where can the good folks at home find you on social media?
Best place to interact with me, guys, is right down here on Twitter. That's at VashSky, just how it's spelled right there. And, oh, nice. I like that, Rudio. Thank you for literally pointing that out there. I like that.
There we go.
Yeah. It's like that Brady Bunch, It's like, you're down there. Okay. I'm producing content for Orange Grove 55, Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and information squeezed fresh right from the Grove. Hopefully we should have a video coming out here. I've been trying to put this together for a while, but I think it should be really, really interesting. So that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on.
We're going to the park.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. I do appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. Comment below with everything we discussed here. There was a lot to chew on in regards to Toontown, Mickey Minnie Runaway Railway, the Avengers E ticket, the cucumber thing at Epcot, entertainment coming back, fireworks, the whole 9 yards. Comment, like the video, subscribe, follow these gentlemen on social media. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, y'all.
Keep praying for that e-ticket.
Yes. Pray to Odin, baby.